Hello, good morning. I hope all of you are doing well. Excuse me. So, today we are getting right back into she should heal her, right? We spoke about who she was yesterday. And so today I'm actually going to jump over you and talk about her first, right? I know it all sounds kind of confusing, but go with me here. Come on, track with me. I'm going to bring it all together. So, her. Who is her? Her is that childlike self of you, that part of you who is still stuck in the hurts, the wounds, the disappointments from the past. The person who is stuck in really fight or flight mode, right? And what I mean by fight or flight, or, stay still, that's another one, freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, is when you feel like you've been in a situation that your livelihood or your life was put on the line and you just get kind of stuck there, right? You freeze in a certain situation. You either run for your life, which is flight, or you either fight, right? You always are there for the battle, there for the argument, there for the fight because you're in protective mode, or either you freeze, which means I'm gonna just pretend like this isn't happening. It's not here. Y'all don't see me, right? And so that is called fight, flight, or freeze, and it's just an automatic response from outside life triggers, right? When you feel like your life is being threatened, and so this was something that we needed in our tribal days, right? In our primitive stages of life, where we had to fight and kill our food, right? So back in the day when we needed to rely on these automatic, pieces of our automatic system in our life that would literally help us to survive, we needed that. We relied on that. That was something that was healthy, right? We needed that to stay alive, to stay aware. And really, what that was meant for is to go through highs and lows with that, though, right? So the saber-toothed tiger, whatever, right, is coming at you. You need to know what you need to do. Should I run? Should I fight? Am I in the predicament where all I can do is just fight right now? Or do I freeze and not do anything, right? Kind of like, when you're facing a bear, right? Let's say you're in the wild somewhere, you're really like in the woods, right? Because that's where bears are. So if you're in the woods and you come across a bear, the number one thing that they teach you is to stay calm, to freeze, right? Not to do anything. You might be scared, poopless, right? However, you're not supposed to act like you can challenge the bear and fight the bear because 10 times out of 10, you are no match for a bear, right? And so if they feel that aggression, you are going to probably die, right? So it's that fight mechanism where should I fight? No, shouldn't fight. Should I run? You can't outrun a bear. Probably not going to happen, not going to end well. You're going to initiate that trigger in that bear, which is going to chase you, right? So you don't want to run from the bear. So should I just be still? Should I just freeze, right? Yes, with the bear, the best thing you can do, they say, I've never encountered one and hope that I don't outside of the zoo, is to freeze, right? And so that is our body's way of actually protecting us. So let's say that there is another situation where, the some sort of animal is, far away or what have you, and you're able to get to a place of safety. You're able to run to a place of safety, right? You're at a good distance where you can do that. So your body is going to trigger you to run because that's your body's way of letting you know. That's the universe's way of letting you know, God's way of letting you know you have the potential to save yourself here. Running is the best option for you. Freezing right now is the best option for you in this moment. Listen, you're in that stage where you have to fight for your life. All you can do is fight. You're back up against the corner. So you need to just go out swinging, right? Or at least try your hand at swinging, at fighting for your life. So those are meant to be at a stage and at a level where it's heightened. And then once the threat is gone, you are to bring the levels back down, right? That is nature's way. That is how we were built to operate. However, let's bring our primitive state, our tribal state into today. We are still using that fight or flight, but we're using it in an adverse way, a way that it was not meant and our bodies were not created to utilize it in, right? We're using it as day-to-day stress. So, you know, something happens to you. Let's say that you uh, let's just go there. Let's just say that something happened to you as a child. Let's say that you were molested, or someone was coming into your room at night, or something of that sort, right? You are automatically put in a fight, flight, or freeze, excuse me, stage, right? Your mind is, what should I do in this situation? Sometimes you're fighting. Sometimes you're freezing. Sometimes you try to run away from the situation. And so when that happens to a child, or to your younger self, or I'm going to just say the younger part of yourself, because you don't necessarily have to be a child. This experience, could happen when you're older, a rape or anything like that, any type of situation where you feel like you have been triggered or threatened. It doesn't even have to be as harsh as, a molestation or a rape. It could be that, your father or your mother was an alcoholic, and they came home and you always felt insecure and not safe, around that person. Or maybe they weren't an alcoholic and they were just buttholes, right? And they didn't treat you the way that a child needed to be treated. Or, even as an adult, you're operating from your childlike self, you were in a situation where you were not treated correctly, or treated with the proper respect. And from that, it caused you to move into your fight, flight, or freeze stage. That is a childlike stage, right? And what's happening sometimes when you're stuck there is you're not able to move past that. That was there to protect you. It's still there to protect you, but it's also meant to come down from that stage. You don't want to stay at that heightened stage. But if you don't deal with the trauma, if you don't take the time to heal the trauma, it will always show up again. Your past will become your present. So when you're faced with a similar situation of when you experience that hurt, that fear, that rejection, that wound, that embarrassment, when you're faced with a similar situation, your body automatically goes into protection mode. Oh, wait, hold up. We've been there before. We know what this looks like, smells like, tastes like. Don't do it. Walk away. Oh, last time we did this, we ran, right? So we need to run from this argument, right? We need to shut down, and we need to move, right? That lack of communication shut down as you now as an adult, right? In any situation where you feel threatened and that trigger comes up for you because you haven't dealt with it with your younger self, your shadow, sometimes they call it self, your unhealed, fearful self, when it comes up later in an argument, or even something that resembles it, you might not even be able to really actually consciously make that connection of where the trigger started here and where you are now, but your body does. Your mind is a powerful operating system, right? It tells the body how to feel. So what happens is your brain says, oh, we've been here before. And because we've been here before, this is what we did. We got hot, we got sweaty, we got nervous, your stomach started to hurt, and then we ran. We shut down and we ran, right? So that is now what you're doing as an adult. So if you have the issues with not communicating, right, or running from every argument, ignoring, every argument, that may be where that came from. So you have to go back and heal that version of yourself. Or let's say that, it was the other way around, where you didn't run. You stayed in there for the fight, right? Your body was used to reacting in that fight mode, where everything now that resembles you being threatened, you're in it for the fight. You're in it for the argument. You're taking it there. So now when you're an adult and you have that argument with him or whomever, you're like, let's do it. I'm not backing down from this. This is what I do. You're operating. Are you operating? Let me ask you, are you operating from that hurt, traumatized self that you may not necessarily be aware of? Could that be? Or, if your response was to just freeze, to ignore it and act like nothing is wrong. I see that so often in women where they ignore things. I call it the ignore syndrome, right? So basically what happens is they just pretend like it really just isn't happening. No, everything is good. You know, this is what I get a lot. Well, this divorce just came out of nowhere. I didn't see any signs. I had no idea that this was going to happen. It just came out of nowhere. It hit me like a ton of bricks because I didn't see it coming. And I have a hard time believing that, one, because this is my field, right? And I've seen a lot in the field, and honestly, I've been through this. It's not very often, if at all, that someone is in a relationship, in a marriage, and one of the parties asks for a divorce, and then the other party didn't see that coming or didn't know. Let's just say maybe the divorce part, that they wanted to actually divorce, came as a shock. But they act like, no, everything was good. Everything was great. We just went on vacation together. We just had a baby together. We just celebrated this anniversary. Everything has been good. I don't understand it. To me, well, the first thing that I hear, unless, I want to dig into it more obviously, so I can have, an educated, analysis of really what's going on. But typically what that is you are freezing. You're in that frozen type of emotional state where you're not fully there with reality, right? Hello. So when you act like that, like nothing happened, I didn't see this divorce coming, it just came out of left field, that typically is a sign of your freeze state. I want to cover everything up. I don't want to deal with the issues because it scares me. Last time I dealt with these issues, or before, when my herself, my childlike self, had to deal with these issues, I just ignored them. And that's how I got through. That's how I stayed safe. So now that's how I present now, right? When I'm in an argument with my ex or what have you, or my soon to be ex-husband, or whatever the case is right now, you feel as if I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to pretend like everything is fine. And then when that divorce, request hits you, it's like, oh, shoot, where did that come from? Because you're stuck in the freeze. You did not take the time to deal with the realities of it. And you thought it was going to go away for you because when you were a child, that herself, that's what worked for you. That's what saved your life. So that basically is what that fight, flight, or freeze primitive state is like, and what how we're using it in the modern days of today. So I also call it the SAD disorder, the self-attention disorder, right? If you're not giving yourself attention, right, you are at a deficit. So if you are not attending to that hurt stage of yourself, you are bringing everything that you have not dealt with in your past into your present. You can only deal with someone in regards to their last healing, right? So wherever someone is, you're always going to be dealing with them from that stage of healing. And what I want you to understand is you first have to deal with you. So if you aren't showing up for yourself, if you aren't honest with yourself, if you are not even taking the time to communicate with yourself in the right way, how do you expect someone else to show up for you in that particular way? How are you actually contributing to part of the problem within the relationships that you're in, because you haven't taken the time yourself to heal from your wounded shadow, childlike, I'm calling it the her stage, right? Self. So before we can even begin to try to start thinking about reconciling any relationship, if that's what your goal is, I speak with women who are saying, listen, I don't want this divorce. I just want my husband. One, I've seen out, what's out there, and I rather just deal with this, right? Even if I haven't seen anything out there, I don't want this divorce, but he wants it. He wants this. The best thing you can do, ladies, and I know it's hard to hear, but I have to be honest with you. Let him go and do his work while you do yours. That is the best thing that you can do at this point, because if that's what you want to do is reconcile, you want to reconcile from a healthy place, right? You want to reconcile from your uh, she self. We spoke about she yesterday, that ideal lady, that ideal woman, that ideal version of yourself that you have in your head. You don't want to deal with the relationship from her anymore, that childlike state, right? So if you have not worked on your past, if he hasn't worked on his past, you and him will always see each other from your past hurts and your past wounds, and it will never work. And this is why you see relationship to relationship to relationship hopping, because it's the same person showing up in just a different situation, right? A different name, a different house, but the same trauma is still presenting itself. You can move 1,000 miles away, but what you can't do is move from your inner self, right? It will always show up. You can freeze it for a minute, hide, put it under the rug for a bit, but as soon as you are triggered, you will be right back, where you are. So just remember, people can only show up for you. You can only show up for you how you were last healed, right? So that is pretty much all I have for you today. I am so trying to keep these lives underneath the 10-minute mark. I even got a timer, y'all, because I told you, I promised you that these lives are going to be 10 minutes and under, and I've been going like 18, 19 minutes, just because, like I said, I'm so passionate about your healing. I don't feel like and don't believe that this conversation and the emphasis on healing and on mental health, as far as getting to know who you are as a person, is spoke about enough, especially in women of color's households and community, right? And especially for women, men too, but my audience and my heart, my passion is for you all women. And these are the conversations that need to be had around the kitchen table. If we're not having these conversations, then we're going to continue the pattern, not only for us, but also the generation behind us, our daughters and our granddaughters, because we are now living in the hurts and the unshared stories and lessons of our grandparents and our mothers. Back in tribal days, it wasn't an issue. We sat around the table cooking and making baskets and sharing our stories and lessons, life lessons, right? But we don't do that, anymore as a culture, right? And so therefore, this is where we are. We have a generation of women who stay in the pain, who stay in the hurt, who operate out of fight, flight, or freeze, right? It's unhealthy in an unnatural, heightened, stressful environment at all times. We're always on peak. And that's not healthy for our mental, our spiritual, or our physical at all. So before we are, I'm so distracted, as before we could move on into healthy relationships, before we can even have the conversation about moving on to another relationship or reconciling with our spouses, we need to have the conversation of reconciling with ourselves, with our shadow selves, with our hurt selves, right? It's okay. We all have that side. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. And it dang sure isn't something to continue to hide, right? If you do more of the same, you will get more of the same. Listen, don't be fearful to invest in you. I'm talking about your resources, your time, your energy, your money. Invest in you, this part of you, and getting to know your spirit self so that you can go from your her self, right, which I'm talking about today, to tomorrow, what I'm going to speak about, which is your you, where you are currently right now. And then, like I spoke about yesterday, your ultimate she place, the woman that God created you to be, the woman that you can visualize, the woman who you're working towards, right? The woman that you are proud of. The you is caught in between. So we're going to go ahead and address her you. Ugh, I know it's confusing, but the you part of you tomorrow. Today, I spoke to her, right? That childlike self. Yesterday, I spoke about she. So join me tomorrow for the next part of this 5-part series. She should heal her. Continue to send me your DMs. I absolutely love speaking with you guys, ladies, I should say, on the chat. And actually, this week, maybe next week. Nope, it's going to be this week before the week is out. I'm going to announce something that is really, really exciting, you guys. So, and it's definitely going to help. I've gotten a lot of requests for this. I hear you. I understand your situations. I got it now, and I am going to deliver for you. So stay tuned. If I do have your email address, you'll also get an alert letting you know that what this new thing is that I'm going to be talking about. So if I don't have your email address, DM me the words details. It will automatically ask you for your email address. And once I have your email address, I'm going to email out the special thing that I am talking about. I'm not quite ready to release it yet, but by Sunday, I'm hoping to be able to release that. If not Sunday, y'all, it will definitely be on Monday, but it is coming soon within the next few days. Super exciting. I'm super excited to give this to you all because you have been asking me for it. And finally, I can make this happen for you. So excited. So talk to you tomorrow. I'm over my 10 minutes, been over. You guys have a blessed day. I love you. Keep your head up, ladies. I know that this time is challenging, but together we can figure this out. We are going to have this conversation and dig out all of this mess so that you can move on to your happy, healthy, and whole life that you deserve, that you are created to, so that one day you can meet your creator and he can introduce you to the woman and the version that he created you to be in. And you're going to be like, yep, that's me. I look like her, right? I did the things that she was supposed to do. I lived the way that she was meant to live. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for myself. Love you. Have a blessed day. Take care. Mwah. See you later.